So we'll do the Maimer. This is in Mameorim Meluket in Chelik Aleph. This is the second Maimer. It's the Maimer of Ahoy Biom, ההוא יתקע בשובר גדול that the Rebbe said on Rosh Hashanah, the second day of Rosh Hashanah in the year Tavshin. Later on, they published this Maimer for the Rosh Hashanah Tavshin Nun Beis. It was dated Chofei Elul Shnas Tov Tinose, Toshinun Aleph, in which they published this mimer. And this is the mimer we're going to learn now. In base the Rosh Hashanah, h'tשכח. So the pasuk he quotes here is V'hoyo b'yom ההוא יתקע בשובר גדול. This is a pasuk in Yeshaya, and this is what we also say during the davening on Musaf on Rosh Hashanah. The pasuk v'hoye b'yom ההוא, on that day, he's talking about la'asid love. He's talking about in the future. It will be yitaka b'shofar gadol. It will blow in a big shofar, and then uvo ha'ivdim be'eretz Ashur, those who are lost in the land of Ashur, v'hanidochim, those who are pushed away be'eretz Mitzrayim, in the land of Egypt, v'hishtachavu laHashem b'har hakodesh b'Yerushalayim, and they will prostrate themselves on the holy mountain, that's the Temple Mount in Yerushalayim. So all those that are lost in the Ashur and the Nidochim Beretz Mitzrayim will come to Yerushalayim, to the holy mountain, and prostrate over there. The Rebbe is going to explain in this Maimer what's the Shofar Gadol that it will be in the future. Yitaka b'Shofar Gadol. What is it, a Shofar Gadol? He's going to go through the various different ideas of Shofar. And the Rebbe is also going to speak that Shofar is the hashpoah that comes milmailo. And over here, the fact is, it doesn't say who is going to blow the shofar. So the Yitaka b'Shofar comes from a very, very high mila. That's going to be la'asid love. And then that is connected to the shofar that we blow on Rosh Hashanah. But let's go step by step. We'll learn the Maimer inside. B'siyayta d'shmaya, Yom beis the Rosh Hashanah, h'tשכח. V'hoya b'yom ההוא יתקע b'shofar gadol. We said this already. Ubo ha'ivdim beretz Ashur, v'hanidochim beretz Mitzrayim, v'hishtachavu laHashem b'har hakodesh b'Yerushalayim. So Medayik Admur Hazokin. So the Alter Rebbe questions the Maimer Divra Maschil Zeshe b'Likutei Torah. In the Maimer that opens up with the same opening in Likutei Torah, Mashakosu b'Shofar Gadol. What does it mean, a big shofar? Mahi ha'mayla the Shofar Gadol. What is the advantage? What is the greatness of a Shofar Gadol? And Gam tzarich lahavin k'moshe medayik b'hemshech ha'Maimer. Another thing we need to understand, as he questions in the continuation of the Maimer, Mashakosu yitaka. It says it will be blown. It doesn't say anybody blowing. It doesn't say Hashem. It doesn't say any. It says yitaka stam. It just says it will be blown. V'lo nemar mihu ha'tשכח. It doesn't say who is the one that is doing the blowing. Who will blow? It just say will be blown. So first of all, what is this Shofar Gadol? And why doesn't it say who will blow it? And the Mittler Rebbe adds, he adds another point out, another point over here, Shenemar, over here it says Yitaka. It says it will be blown, as if to say it will be blown on its own. The Loshen Yitaka, Tov bekomets, when you say Yitaka, so the Tov has a comma. It's not Yitка, meaning somebody will blow, but Yitaka will be blown, it seems like on its own. This points that it will be blown on its own. So, what is the Shofar Gadol? Why doesn't it say who's blowing it? And actually, it seems that it's blown on its own. The point of the explanation in the Mameorim is the ha'his oiris al yidei shofar stam. Over there, he explains why do we need a Shofar Gadol. Since the pasuk says that also those who are Beretz Ashur and Edochim Beretz Mitzrayim, they will also be affected by this shofar. It has to be a shofar gadol in order to reach very far away. An ordinary shofar can reach the people who are next to you. It means also in distance, but also means in level. A regular shofar can touch and awake people that are close by. But you need a shofar gadol to reach very far. That it says the ha'is oirus sha'idei shofar stam, when there is an awakening that comes through an ordinary shofar, not a gadol, who rak le'ela shehem bikiruv ktsas. That only is for those who are a little bit somewhat close, so they can be nisoider. You can awaken them through a shofar, regular shofar. But in order to wake up those who are lost in the land of Ashur and pushed away in the land of Mitzrayim. Again, and also it's explained in other places that Ashur and Mitzrayim represents good fortune and oppression, which means difficulty. Sometimes people are lost for various different reasons, and we need to awake them too. That's a very distant level to wake them up. Shegam heim yisayru lovei lirushalayim b'lishtach v'zlashem. They too should be woken up to want to come to Yerushalayim, to bow to Hashem. Who alidei shofar gadol. That's why we have a shofar gadol. So the Rebbe asks, why do we need a shofar gadol? And the answer is because we're coming to get people who are far away, and for people that are far away, you need the shofar gadol. Now, what exactly is the shofar gadol? We're going to discuss by first explaining what is the level of shofar, and to show that sometimes there's a shofar which is blown by Hashem. And this is a shofar which has no name, and it's actually blown out by itself. It's a higher level of shofar, hashpoah, that comes from a very high level, as the Rebbe will explain in continuation of the Maimer. So first we have to understand the shofar that we use today, and then we'll see to build it up to what the shofar gadol is. The shofar gadol in order to explain the advantage of this great shofar that will be la'asid lavai. So Magdim b'hamaimer, so he introduces the Maimer in Likutei Torah that the Rebbe is discussing here. Biyur inyan shofar the Rosh Hashanah achshav, to explain what the shofar of Rosh Hashanah is now. So we say that actually the shofar is a cry that comes from the essence of the heart. That cry that comes from the essence of the heart, which is beyond the person's intellect and koiches pnimim, it touches very high up. This elicits a response from a very high up level of godliness. So he says, through the Yidden blowing the shofar, the shofar is the cry out of the inside of the heart, which is beyond, higher than sechel. Through this cry out of the shofar, nimshach pnimis alev de l'maylo kaviyachol. This, so to speak, draws down the inner of the heart of above, inner of Hashem's heart. We cry out from the inner of our heart, and we get to draw down the inner of the heart of above, so to speak, which would be the rotzen ha'elyon shel l'maylo ma'achokma. The level of Chokhmah of Atzilus, that would be a level of rationale, Chokhmah, but we're talking about getting to the level of Keser, to getting to the level of Rotzen, to bring it down, because we're giving our Pnimi Salev higher than Chokhmah. We get higher from Chokhmah from above. But Valzen Amar, on this, the Hamshocha that we get from the Pnimi Salev, L'maylo, the Rotzen Elyon, which is higher than Chokhmah, it says, Va'adnai Havaya b'shofar Yitqa. Here we say Hashem is blowing the shofar. That blowing of the shofar of Hashem is a response to our blowing of the shofar. Our yell out to Hashem, cry out to Hashem from the depth of our hearts brings about the depth of the heart of above, and that's why that's of Adnai Havaye b'Shofer Yitkin. The Kmoish Yitkia Shofer the Odom, just as the blowing of the shofar of the person here at Tzaiket Ibnimis Alev. That's the cry out of the inner of the heart. Al Derech Zehu L'maylo, similarly is above the Inyan Tkiya Shofer. What does it mean, shofar? Above, Uam Shochos V'Gilu Hapnimis. That is to extend and reveal the inside, the inner of godliness. Okay, so now we already have a level of shofar higher than chachma. So what else do we need? How does it? What is the shofar gadol? So the chiluk between shofar stam the shofar gadol. So what's the difference? A shofar stam and a shofar gadol. Even a shofar stam is already higher than a chachma. The shofar stam who am shochas v'gilu apnim is the lakus shalamayel ma'elmes. While it's take revealing the inner of godliness that is higher than world, avol shayich lo'elmes, but it still has a connection to the world, which is seviv kolalmin. It surrounds, but it's still connected. It's seviv the worlds. So it's a level of godliness that we're mamshich from shofar, a level of seviv, but it's connected to the world. But the shofar gadol, if it's a big shofar, who am shochas v'gilu hapnimi is the lekus shalamayla meshaychas loyalmas. That's revealing the inner of godliness, which is higher than having a connection to the world. It's a higher place in godliness, which is totally removed from the world, not like seviv, which still has a connection, but it's totally removed from the world. Lamaylo gam is seviv, and this is higher even than seviv. And now we understand why the regular shofar response, it says, V'adnai Havaye b'shofar Yitqa, because that's taka higher than Ishtalshlus level of Rotzen, but it's a connection. It's Adnai Havaye. Was the shofar Godel has no name because it's higher than name. B'shofar Stam Ksiv, when we're just talking about the shofar, b'shofar Yitqa, we say Adnai Havaye. But the regular shofar is blown by Adnai Havaye because that's the level that we get from the regular shofar from Hashem. The Adnai Havaye him shemes, both Adnai and Havaye are names. Elo, but even though they're names, but Elo sheshemes Elu, Adnai Havaye, the Nikud Elikim. When you have Hashem Havaye with the Nikud, Hashem Elikim, they're very high level. So we're saying that Adnai Elikim, Hashem Elikim, Adnai Havaye, bring down a very high level, the level of Sefer Kolam, the level of Rotzen. But B'Shofer Godel Ksiv Yitaka Stam. Over here it doesn't say names. It doesn't say who's the blower. Ki Yazu Hamshocha V'Gilui. This blowing is extending in revelation from a level which is hidden of all hidden. No names over there. It's beyond names. Shalamayla Meshemis, which is above, higher than the idea of Shemis, and therefore it just says Yitaka. It doesn't say any, there's no names over here. There's nothing there, but it's blown because it comes from a very high Madrega, which is higher than Shemus. So right now we know that the Shofar Godel is a very high level of godliness that comes down, which is higher even than Shofar Kol Almim, and that's why there's no name over there, because it's Stima Dechol Stima, hidden of all hidden, meaning there's no name, there's no reference to it. It's beyond everything, and that's the level which is the Shofar Godel. The Shofar Godel is a Hamshach. And the Rebbe further explains that the level to us to understand the level of Shofar Godel, that is even higher than the level when the Eibishter blows the shofar on Shabbos, where a person doesn't blow the shofar, and we say because on Shabbos, the Tainug of Shabbos, we don't need us to blow the shofar. But this is even higher then that is higher than the shofar of Yom Kippur. They're all shofar stams. The Rebbe is going to bring down various different levels of shofars. But since they're all levels of shofar stam, this is a level of shofar gadol. This is a much higher level than all of the levels of above. So, the B'chdei Levair Ha'ilu the Shofar Gadol Od Yoser, in order to explain even more, as we know, the Rebbe's Mameorim on Rosh Hashanah, he quoted from all the Rebbeim. So we already had the Alter Rebbe, we had the Mittler Rebbe, we had the Tzemach Tzedek. And now, now the Rebbe is bringing down further the Tzemach Tzedek, that maybe that's a machzedek bavir shaloi ma'amaimer divra maschil v'hoya bayom ההוא יתקע בשובר גדול שבליקוטי Torah. The Tzemach Tzedek has an explanation to the Maimer of Hoy Bayom ההוא יתקע בשובר גדול Likutei Torah. So he brings down from another part of Likutei Torah, Mashikosuv, Likutei Torah b'divra maschil, what it writes in Likutei Torah in the opening Maimer, Lahavana Mishnah, but they discuss it to understand what the Mishnah says. The Mishnah says that Yom Tov Shel Rosh Hashanah Shachal Li is b'Shabbos, that when Rosh Hashanah comes out on Shabbos, b'Mikdash Hayu Toikin, Avalei b'Medina, that in the Mikdash they would blow, and not in the Medina. So we'll explain why did they not blow in the Medina, why outside of the Beis HaMikdash they didn't blow, and why did they blow in the Beis Hamikdash? And still, even that level that they blew on Shabbos and Rosh Hashanah in the Beis Hamikdash is done with a regular shofar. That's not yet a shofar gadol. That's the Rebbe wants to bring out. We see that all the milas in Tkiyas shofar, even when we don't blow in Medina, only in the Mikdash, which is a higher level, and yet it's not a shofar gadol. So it says, so over there explains how come in the Mikdash they blew and not in everywhere else. Why are we blowing the need for a Hashanah to blow the shofar? Through our blowing of the shofar, we awaken, we arouse above the delight in creation of the world. That means Tamlechuni Aleichem, to bring the Eibishter, the light in creation of the world. We accomplish that by blowing the shofar. But on Shabbos, on Shabbos on its own, even without blowing the shofar, there is the level of tainug. And that's why in the Rosh Hashanah that comes on Shabbos, ain't tzorich or kolkach, we don't need so much letkiyas shofar. We don't need the shofar because we already have tainug. Why in the Mikdash did they blow? Why did they blow in the Mikdash even on the Rosh Hashanah that comes on Shabbos? Because there's many madregas in the level of tainug. The level of tainug that we bring down through the blowing of the shofar in the Beis Hamikdash, that's even higher than the tainug of Shabbos. So, not in the Beis Hamikdash, you only bring down through Tkiyas shofar the level of tainug which Shabbos brings on its own. So, therefore, it's not necessary to blow the shofar. But in the Beis Hamikdash, over there, the level of tainug that we bring through Tkiyas shofar is higher than the level of tainug by itself. Tainug, the Shabbos, what's the chiluk? Shabbos umibchinas chitzonius hakeser shoyresh hane'etzolim. Shabbos tainug comes from the level of chitzonius hakeser, from the level of arich, which is the root of the netzolim, of everything that is created, of atzilus, of the netzolim. V'hatainug shemshichu al tkiyas shofar b'mikdash, and the tainug that they draw down in tkiyas shofar in the mikdash u'mibchinas primis hakeser. That comes from atik, from the primis hakeser, which is the bechina hatachtoina shebemeitzel, the lower level in the creator. That's the level of primis hakeser. So the level that they're mamshich in the Beis Hamikdash comes to the level of primis hakeser, and therefore Shabbos itself did not provide that. And because Shabbos itself is only Chitzonius HaKeser. And here we got the Pnimis HaKeser through that, the Shofar. Moisiv HaTzemach Tzedek, so the Tzemach Tzedek adds, שגם התיינוק דבחינה תחתונה שבמייצל, even in this level, so we're saying already we're going down, this is how high shofar is. This is not the shofar godly yet. So we're up to already to Pnimius HaKeser. And the Tzemach Tzedek writes that even that, Pnimius HaKeser, is not yet the whole story. שגם בתיינוק דבחינה תחתונה שבמייצל, even in the taining of the lower level of the Meitzel, yeshno kama madreges. There's several madreges. V'hatainuk shenimshach bebayis rishon al yidei tkiya shofar. The tainuk that came in the first base of Mikdash by blowing the shofar, hu naila yoser mehatainuk shenimshach bebayis sheni. That's a higher level of tainuk than came down in the second base of Mikdash. So we have already within the tainuk of the base of Mikdash two levels, the Tainug Rishon and Tainug Ba'isheni. U'Ba'is Rishon Atzmai, in Ba'is Rishon there was another blowing, HaShoifer the Yom HaKippurim, the Shnasa Yovel. And Yom Kippur, Shnasa Yovel, they blew the Shofar again, She Mitzvah Yovel, Hoysa Rak Ba'is Rishon, that was only in the Ba'is Rishon. So, Ba'is Rishon, so we have to go up, Beis HaMikdash Rishon, Yom Kippur of Shnasa Yovel, Unala Yosem HaShofer the Rosh Hashanah. It's higher than the shofar of Rosh Hashanah. V'afal pikein gam b'shofar diyovel nemar v'avarto shofar trua. It just says shofar trua. So you see, this is all not shofar godel, shofar stam. We say move on. So from this we can understand shofar godel hulamaylo gam hagilu shenimshach adei shofar diyovel. That this great big shofar is higher than the great shofar. Even of the Shofar of Yovel. So that tells us how high and what the source is for the Shofar Gadol. And here the Rebbe is going to continue elaborating how the Shofar Gadol is the great level. So Nois Dalla, the Rebbe continues to explain that not only is this the Shofar Gadol greater than all these Shofars we talked about, the shofar, the tainug, we talked about shofar on the first base of Mikdash, the second, the first base of Mikdash, the shofar on Yovel, and shofar, they're all shofar, but shofar Gadol is only L'Asid Lavi. The Rebbe brings down another idea over here that it's even greater than the shofar of a Matan Torah. By Matan Torah also, it doesn't say shofar Gadol. And Shofar Gadol is greater than the Shofar that they heard by Matan Torah. We know Matan Torah was a tremendous revelation over there, but yet the revelation of the Shofar Gadol is higher. Gimel. Well, and to add the Shofar Gadol Sheyeh, the great Shofar that's going to be in the future to come, that is even higher than the shofar of Matan Torah. That's not a shofar Gadol. A shofar Gadol is going to be L'Asid Lavi. Sharegam b'shofar the Matan Torah nemar, because also by the shofar of Matan Torah it says Vayhi koil hashofar, and the sound, it doesn't say shofar stam. It doesn't say koil hashofar Gadol. It says shofar stam. Over there the pasuk does say later on the sound of the shofar went very strong. The fact that the pasuk continues that it was going and strong. We're talking about the sound. It wasn't a big shofar, it was the sound of the shofar was very powerful. Koil Godil, it was a great sound, not a shofar Godil. But in relationship about the shofar from which the koil comes, it doesn't say there was a shofar Gadol. So move on. So we understand, therefore, that the shofar Gadol sheyeh l'osid hulamaylo gam hashofar the Matan Torah. That this great shofar that will be in the future is even higher than the shofar of Matan Torah. And the Rebbe brings now a proof from this that in Pirkei de Rabbi Lezer it says that the ram that substituted for Yitzchak in the Akedah had two horns. One was blown by Matan Torah and one was blown by Mashiach in the future. Okay, the Isa be Pirkei de Rabbi Lezer. The Indian base Quran of She'elah Shel Yitzchak about the two horns of the ram of Yitzchak. The Keren Shel Smoil Nishma Koilal Har Sinai. The left horn, we heard the voice, the sound on Har Sinai, Shnemar, Vahi Koila Shofar. That was that sound. But the Keren Shel Yamin, the right horn, Shu Godel Mi'asmoil, that's greater than the left one. That's the Keren Godel. Osid Litkoya Bail Osid Lovi. He is destined to blow in it in the future to come. Shnemar, Biom, ההוא יתקע בשובר גדול. On that day will be blown in this big shofar. So how come Matan Torah only had a shofar and the Osilov would be a shofar gadol? V'atam al zeh she'ashofar in Matan Torah hoye shofar stam. The reason why the shofar of Matan Torah was just an ordinary shofar, and the shofar of the Osilov yeh shofar gadol is going to be a large shofar. Mevair ad murem tzoyi. The Mittler Rebbe explains that. Ki b'Matan Torah Hayekurum b'kudav le'elokus. During Matan Torah, everybody was close to Hashem, to godliness. Gam lifnei kol ha-shofar, even before the sound of the shofar. V'lochein, and that's why Gam al yidei shofar stam oyev shaloyrim. Even just an ordinary shofar, you were able to awaken them. Avo b'chdei lo'oyer es ha'ovdim ha'nidochim. But in order to awaken the lost and those who were pushed away, Udavke al yidei shofar gadol is specifically to a great shofar. So v'alpi zeh mevayir masha kosuf yitokah b'shofar gadol. As before, it will be blown. The lashon yitokah tov b'kometz meira. When it says yitokah, the tov is with a kometz. It points she yitokah ma'atzu, blown by itself. That revelation of that level of shofar to wake up those lost and those who have been pushed, Yil Ma'atzim is going to be by itself, Beli Sarusa Delatata Klal. No Sarusa Delatata, it's not from below. That's why there's nobody blowing it. It's blowing on itself. It comes from the Eibishter Mitzad by himself.